new niche for me, but it is really fun, thinking from their perspective. I, for the past 3.5, 4 years, I was, fully in the sales niche, thinking in their thing. Now, fully, totally, I'm from a publisher, news, media. That is fun.
Nice.
Hope you guys don't mind. My internet is a little wonky today, so my camera, I don't know.
That's okay.
Maybe you can switch on the video for a minute. We can take a picture or something.
Yeah, sure, that works.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it when everybody's present?
I think this is the quorum, right, Gargi?
We have Lata who will be joining. I think we should wait a minute.
You want to give a minute, right?
Yeah, wait a minute. So, Viresh, are you from Bangalore or Chennai? Where?
Yeah, I am from Bangalore and basically a Kannada guy itself. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, we'll just wait a minute more.
What part of Bangalore, Viresh?
I'm in Whitefield currently.
Whitefield.
That's Bangalore. I thought it's not counted.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday it rained in Bangalore, but it didn't rain in the eastern side, Whitefield.
We are in HSR.
Oh, okay.
Do you come this side?
I mean, I used to work in Whatfix earlier. So, I mean, and it was 5 days work from office. So, I used to visit there daily.
So you used to travel all the way?
Yeah, from here. And at that time, I think the traffic was not this bad. It was still okay.
During COVID, is it?
Just after COVID, I mean, 2021.
Our office is just next to Whatfix.
Ah, okay.
Part of which team? Whatfix?
Whatfix, you know?
Yeah.
I was part of the performance marketing team.
So even the ABM team at Whatfix is quite big, right?
Yeah, so when I was there, it was a 2% team. I think it's 3 or 4 now.
Oh.
Yeah, it has grown. I mean, it has changed a lot since I have left as well. Like the team has entirely changed now.
Maybe we should start, Gargi.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. Okay, so guys, as you all know, I'm Gargi, Vignesh, and Arun. We are from Recotap. I do ABM at Recotap. Arun is the co-founder and CEO, and Vignesh is the LinkedIn maestro. So maybe I'll just give you guys a rough idea about how we started with the ABM jams, and then we can go on and like do a short introduction of everyone. So basically, we have been interacting with B2B marketers. Arun has been interacting for the last 6, 7 years now, and it felt like ABM now has its own set of challenges, a lot of new creative ideas, and there's obviously a lot of scope in this field itself, specifically in ABM, and that made it quite obvious that why not have a sort of a community, or sort of a space where all of us can learn from each other, all of us who's from any ABM stage, who's exploring ABM or doing ABM, enterprise startups, some sort of a unbiased space where we can just exchange ideas and take insights from each other. And that's how we started with the ABM jams. And I think today we've tried to like curate the list in a way that we have people from enterprises as well and mid-market companies as well. So maybe we can move on to introductions. Viresh, would you like to start?
Yeah. Hi everyone, Vitesh here. So right now I'm the performance marketing lead at AI Dash. So I have around 4+ years of experience in B2B marketing. Before that, I used to work at an agency in Hyderabad used to take care of both B2C and B2B. So Whatfix was my first organization where I purely shifted to B2B marketing, got exposed to ABM at Whatfix, and and that's an expertise that I like to get a more hold on, because I mean, as everybody knows, I mean, ABM is the present and the future of B2B marketing. So we have been doing a lot of ABM activities at AI Dash. So in terms of budget and all, we are not that big, and that makes ABM quite crucial for us. And hoping to grow, learn more from this session, and grow with all of you guys.
It's very part of Ritesh's team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we were interacting quite frequently when they were just getting started.
Yeah, I remember we had one session. I think there was one more person. Like you were also part of that. I remember that. So we had one session around ABM using LinkedIn marketing and all.
Online, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'm not able to recall. Ritesh is still with Whatfix, I suppose. Yeah. Ashok, would you like to just do a quick intro?
Yeah, so I have around 4.5 years of B2B marketing, like Viraj said as well. I started my marketing career with Zoho. I was there for a couple of years, 1.5 years. So there, then I moved to Plenty, where SEO. I was a one man SEO team. So I start actually I don't have much exposure to ABM because the final couple months only we had started ABM, like I told you, Arun. So uh, I just wanted to. I was you texting me was like such a big coincidence because I was looking for proper practical ABM resources. Not the things that we write on blogs. So we know what we write on blogs, how for how we do that. So I wanted to get some actual ABM. Wanted to listen to somebody talk about ABM, right? People have done it. So that is when you got in touch with me on LinkedIn. So yeah, so in Zoho, I mean in Plenty, the first couple of years, I was fully in the organic side, and the one of our performance marketers left, and that is when I took over performance marketing as well. So previously in Zoho, I had done some ads, but it was not my specialty. So organic was my specialty. So now in Quintype, I take care of ops and actually pretty much full the digital marketing arena itself as a whole. So ABM, it was a very interesting concept when Venkat. I think he was also a little bit interested. Did you get in touch with him, Arun, with Venkat?
So yeah.
Yeah, he actually wanted to know what you guys do. He wanted to see what he is actively mentioning that. So that is when we started it. What we did as ABM, because we are all rookies, right? So what we did was just uh, reaching out on LinkedIn and making, I mean, reaching out in the sense ads on LinkedIn, and SDRs reaching out. We try to sync it as much as possible because we wanted first we wanted to have 100% transparency with what messaging is going out on LinkedIn, to the level of the design images, what we're conveying on the images to the SDRs, so that they know what campaign has brought this person in and what to talk to that person, how to open a pitch to that person. So that is the thing that we wanted to do. If you look at ABM blogs, how to do ABM one stop guide, you everything, the first thing they say is pick your accounts. So every blog says the first step is pick your right account. So that is what we did to build the audience for the ads in LinkedIn itself. So that is where I kind of left Clenty and came here. But here also I think they have a GTM motion, but I don't think marketing team is doing that. I think the sales team is doing that. So I don't have much jurisdiction now. But and it's just been a couple of weeks. I am head eye with my tasks itself. So that is where I am, with AVM.
So if you have an opportunity to infuse ABM Quintype, right? So how would you approach?
Um, how would I approach?
Like,
First of all, I don't think I have much, experience or knowledge to do that. But theoretically, I think I know what AVM wants to do. Sales and marketing being one team, and knowing what happens in sales, marketing knowing what happens in sales. sales knowing what marketing is doing. So that is what I think ABM is now, generally as a concept. But specifics, I definitely don't have a clue. So I think first I'll gain. That is why I'm here, right? So know some things that see what people have done, the results that they have gotten, and try to replicate that in my team as well. So my first thing is to understand what AVM motion at Kuntype they currently have. See that, and if there are any improvements or if there's any chance for me to get work with them, then good, yeah.
Got it. Got it.
All right. That's actually very interesting. Today we were going to actually discuss what sort of challenges come up when we want to start ABM in our organization. And long back we actually wrote a post about the three major sets of challenges. And one was about this. We feel we are not enough educated about it. I still need to read more. I still need to listen to more podcasts. Maybe I'm not sure about this. Things like that. Then there are organizational challenges, and then operational, what tools you need, what sort of resources you need, those things, right? So I think I would love to hear from Viresh as well about what is it that brings you here, or is there any sort of challenges that you faced while starting ABM?
Got Yeah, I think one of the major challenges, and which is kind of a prerequisite for any of the ABM campaign, is having that sales and marketing alignment, right? I mean, everyone knows that sales and marketing should be aligned when you start an ABM campaign, but it's not easy to get sales and marketing aligned. A lot of things have to be planned out, before we start out an ABM campaign, and this is something that I'm also still learning based on my experience. So I remember at Whatfix we used to have demand base as one of the platforms for intent signals, right? And we used to try to get intent signals. There used to be a Slack channel where we used to send the notification if any of the accounts of a particular BD are visiting our website, but we didn't. The problem was like the PD team was not sure. Okay, what should we do post that? Okay, I know that a particular account has visited so and so page on my website, but what is the playbook after that, right? And that is something that right now also I'm facing at my current organization. So even though, let's say, if we have a tool right now which can give us better data, right, rather than what we get on Google Analytics, also, but what should we do post that? Or what is a playbook, right? So what should be the approach that marketing should be doing? Because I mean, we cannot entirely leave it to the sales team itself, because sales team is always quite packed up in their own things. They have to do events. They are going to go to the the places of the clients. They speak to them. There's a lot of travel involved, so we cannot put a lot of burden on them as well. So we as a marketing team need to come up with this has to come up with the playbook, step by step playbook as to what needs to be done. And that's when I think the true outcome of our ABM campaign will be shown, right? Otherwise, at the end of every quarter, we'll be wondering, okay, we spent so many dollars on ABM campaigns, but did we really get any outcome out of that? And that is something that I'm looking forward to learn as well, from the experts as to, and I know that there is no one playbook. There are multiple things that need to be planned out and that has to be implemented. So I think that is one of the major challenges, apart from other smaller challenges that are there, that I have faced with respect to AVM campaigns.
Do you face something similar in AI Dash as well?
Yeah, yeah. So we used to work with an agency just before I joined, and so even they had demand base as part of their package, and they used to again just send the notifications to the team's channel, but and what post that, and that has been one of the things why we are not investing in any other tool, because we are not getting the sales buy-in, right? So, and unless there is a sales buy-in, it doesn't make sense for us as a marketing team to invest in it too. So I think that's why I mentioned it as one of the top challenges.
Sales buy-in in terms of accepting what you claim as a lead or an account that has been warmed enough.
Sales buy-in as in let's say we do give them input as in terms of intent, right? A particular account is showing more intent and all, but is a sales team willing enough to prioritize that account? Because sales team has its own thought process in prioritizing few accounts, right? And also if we give some more data, as I said, like for a particular account engaged with our content on LinkedIn, right? We can have that data, we can share that data with the sales team, but they have to prioritize that as well to make it fruitful. But again, unless they do that, unless they think that there is a proper benefit from that, they won't do that. And as a marketing team, if we have to invest in a tool which would cost us more dollars, it's very important that that will be useful, and that's where sales buying comes in.
So is that because the problem that you're highlighting, is it because they were not taken on board, right, when choosing the accounts, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
taken on board as in, as I said, there was no playbook. I mean, everybody knew that a particular tool will do so and so things. But what should we do post that? Okay, we are getting the intent, we are getting the data, but what should we do post that? There has to be a plan, right? I mean, marketing team has to give certain input, and sales team has to act on it in a certain way. So that was not defined, is what I mean. And because it was not defined, it didn't happen as we wanted.
yeah, I think a couple of things, right? So one or yeah, two or three things. One, ABM as is typically seen as a tool play, right? And I think it's a so what you're talking about is because of that, right? Yeah, if I have to do ABM, I have to have these costly tools to actually do it, right?
Hmm.
The second is the thinking that if I'm doing ABM, I'm running a lot of ads, right? I've done ads, I've got interest, I've got clicks, then I don't know what next to do, right? So the problem there is, I think these two uh, views, right? And also not thinking through the customer journey completely, right? Uh, so I think we've just stopped the planning process, it seems, right, in between, and then say, okay, all I care is to run a lot of ads through this tool, right, which I think is a prerequisite, and then they come here, and I've made them to do something that I want them to do,
Hmm.
right? And because it's not a complete sort of a journey, right? And I think this is where the disconnect is happening, right? Especially when you're trying to do non-named accounts kind of an ABM, right? So internally, trying to carve out a better vocabulary in terms of how ABM can be different for different types of organizations, right? So sort of trying to popularize this, calling it as a strategic ABM and tactical ABM. Right? Strategic ABM is when you have the identified list of accounts, right? 10 accounts, 15 accounts, right? So typically in a enterprise scenario where no matter what, right? So you need to keep engaging and keep driving your messaging to just to those set of accounts because enough and more research has been done, right? Even at a business level to say that these are the accounts that I should spend the maximum effort, time, resource, and everything on, right? And it comes from that sort of a take, then I'll design my campaigns, etc. accordingly, right? So this is a model that could be applicable for like top companies. If you go on, then I was talking to somebody just an hour ago, right? You go on, then ask what is the IBM's named account list or an ABM list, they are going to say 10 accounts, right? And and typically that might be of like people might be surprised to hear, hey, they are such a big company, they have like a lot of resources. Why restrict with 10, right? Could be a sort of a questioner, right? But on the other hand, for smaller companies, like I think all of our companies, right? So maybe that's not an approach that we can afford to follow because you can't put all your efforts to however how much ever research you do, how much ever signals that you get, you can't afford to put all your eggs on that one basket and then just try and do activities. And that is where a concept, what we would like to call as a tactical ABM, which is basically trying to go after a slightly broader list of accounts and then figuring out ways, tapping into signals to compress into a handful of accounts on which you can go and then do things like deeper, personalized, and very contextual kind of outreach and communications, right? So where these accounts are typically, and this is where things like intent, that is like often synonymously spoken between an ABM and an ABM, and intent is like almost like a uh, two sides of the same coin, right? But I think it's actually not. It becomes more prominent when we are doing something like an ABM, tactical ABM, where there is not too much of way to identify that, let's say 20 accounts, 30 accounts, 50 accounts on which you want to focus more and not completely leave out the other, let's say 950 accounts if your entire target account list is 1000, right? So where you're trying to go after a defined list, which is more manageable in batches, right? And that batches could be across a quarter, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, depending on what your conversion cycles are, past experiences, and the current state of those accounts and things like that, right? So, and if you're able to do that, then there is at the beginning of that batch when it starts, right? There is an alignment that okay, for so and so reason, I'm taking this accounts. I'm going to focus and try to focus with as many channels as possible, right, on this selected accounts. So I'm creating more impact. And essentially, what are we doing, right, through this different ads or emails that we are sending? We're trying to stay on top of their mind and trying to communicate the value proposition in different ways, in different stages they are, right? And the example that Viresh, that you talked about, I don't know what next, is actually not thinking through the entire funnel experience and then saying, okay, this, I think it comes from that earlier disconnected marketing sales approach, right? Marketing is designed to generate leads, and after that, it is your responsibility. And I think it is uh, I think it's that that kind of an approach or a mindset that still lingers in us as we transition to a different way of marketing. Uh, and it's also that communication, right? And a lot of the organization, there is also this constant. I think I was talking to one of the subsidiary of a very large IT services company about 2 weeks ago, right? We talked sales and marketing as though it's like so natural, right? But when we talk to those sort of an organization which has been there for decades, right? It's very difficult to sort of activate that, even though that's the right thing to do. It is very difficult to activate because of the setup they are and the culture of the company and things like that, right? So uh, and I think that's where we need to see, figure out a way to sort of wiggle and then figure out an entry, right, to activate something like this, right? And I keep referring to this conversation that I had during one of my podcasts. And this person was talking about how you cannot drive sales and marketing alignment wholesale, but you would be able to handpick one or two people. And the people that you pick up are not either the people who are doing and crashing their quota. This is from the sales team, right? And they don't have a problem in meeting quota, right? But the other extreme is somebody who's trying to, like, quarter on quarter, they're finding it difficult to meet their quota, right? And his advice was don't pick up somebody in the middle because uh, they're not the ones who should be trying, right? With this extreme approach, this polarized approach, his point of view was that the guy who's actually doing things, he has got nothing to lose, right? By aligning with you, being part of the team, and then just working together, versus the other guy who needs some support. So he's desperate for some support to make sure that his job is done and he is to take the salary that he was promised and things like that, right? So that's an approach, right? So multiple things, but uh, so coming back, I think it's so when we approach it the way that I just explained, right? Then for a quarter or for the half year period, these are the accounts, and I've chosen this account for so and so reason, and both the teams are in alignment, and then you try to just do what it needs to be done to create enough interest, and still you're doing the same classical awareness to consideration to activation kind of the typical marketing funnel, but in different stages, right? Uh, I don't know if it makes sense and contributing to what you were talking.
Yeah. So in terms of choosing the accounts as well, so there has to be collaboration between sales and marketing there as well, right?
Yeah,
So I mean, both have to sit down and both have to decide which are the accounts that we are going to focus and going after.
right. Yeah, I think it's very important. So maybe Gargi can talk about how we are approaching, right? So while we've been building a tool for ABM for the last 5.5 years or so, right? It was only in the last 6 to 8 months that we even started to think and then design our go-to-market efforts in an ABM way, right? And we're still a small team for 4 people, right? Trying to, like, we're still learning. So we don't have a defined playbook that's on an autopilot or anything like that. But we're now able to. So there was a stage where we had to do like a lot of pivoting, right? In terms of how we started. We'll do it for a month, and then we'll realize that this is not going anywhere, right? We'll come back, right, and redo the whole thing. But I think the last 2 months, or maybe even a quarter, so we have some sort of a repetitive process, so on which we are now able to move accounts, right, from stage by stage, and also influence them into converting and compressing the time that they spend during the in the pipeline, right? In the sense, like, we are able to influence them and then have them close faster than what we've been able to do it, right? Typically using ads here, right? So while there are other areas that we try to be on top of their mind on a weekly basis, right, or a couple of times a week in different channels and things like that, right? What is helping us, and I think there was also a recent post that we made on this, right? So the final influence, right, that we are doing it through ads, and if we are doing it with some sort of a context, personalization, and all of that, right? So it's really helping in acceleration, right, and helping us to close deals faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think whatever Arun said, I think has a huge takeaway across enterprises as well as I'm sure it's very different for enterprises than the way it is for us or even mid-market companies because you guys have much larger sales teams and marketing teams and you need to fill people in a room and train them about ABM probably, uh, which seems like easy to say even when we say it, but that sort of alignment that we're talking about, right? Veeresh, you mentioned that for even picking accounts, we would need that sort of an alignment with sales. Or even Ashok was saying he doesn't know how much jurisdiction he has about it, right? I think it all boils down to a bit of the way I've been hearing from people and the way I've been listening to podcasts, reading LinkedIn posts, I surely don't have enterprise experience. So take it with a pinch of salt. But it all comes down to a few people taking that charge and doing a small pilot run, right? So repeatedly, I've been seeing people talk about this, even on LinkedIn and during our podcasts, our guests are talking about the small pilot runs where they pick maybe two people from sales. And this is, I think, something Ashok can also, if he's actually considering ABM, this is something that can be done. Is you communicate the idea on an informal level, maybe. It doesn't need to. It's not necessary to get the leadership's buy-in when you're not putting a lot of budget towards it, and it's a very small strategy check sort of a run. And that's what I think the objective with our new avian strategy a few months back was that we start with a few accounts. And since we are a small team, it's very easy. I do ABM and I sit with the sales team in the same office. So if I'm running anything, I can just cross check with them. And it's not that at every step of the process I need them to work with me. It's more of a coordination thing. So I just let them know, I just put a Slack message. And if they have something that they would like to add to it, or if they have something like, okay, maybe we should approach it this way, they would add it to that thread. That's how we are doing it right now. We obviously have our own morning sync-ups, weekly reviews of ABM, where we check what all is going on, which accounts are in the list and everything. But from a process perspective, I think it's more of a coordination thing than doing everything together. Uh, And yeah, the proactiveness part is very real. Like few people who should own the whole ABM motion in the beginning, and then maybe once it works, once we have results to show, can be created a full effort with executives' help, and that's sort of an organization around it. Uh, Apart from that, I think it really helps to obviously do it with a small team because everybody is it's very easy to stay on the same page when you have a small team. Everyone understands ABM very well, and they have, and a small list, obviously a small list is something that we are also targeting right now, where we are also experimenting with a few accounts which we have not, types of which we have not taken before. But I think that's the way to go. Small pilot run with very proactive people, 3, 4 people, and then going on and launching it on a complete organization level. Uh, I think Ashok, coming back to you.
Yeah.
Maybe I just want to make a point. So we are so aligned, right, as a team, right? A marketing person has actually taken over the salesperson's chair. She's sitting on the chair.
Yeah, we're extremely aligned. In fact, couple of like crazy things we've experienced is they would just let me know that we were referred to this company. That's the post we wrote recently. They just let me know that there's this company that was referred, Recotab. They were looking for tools and they were referred. And immediately that moment itself, I added them to ads. Within 1 hour, they booked a call. So they would have still booked the call probably if they are exploring ABM tools. Maybe about a week later, maybe 2 days later. But we were just able to speed it up, right? So that I don't think anybody in ABM talks enough about timing and recency. So if they've shown interest recently, how do you act on it quickly? And that's sort of a thing. I'm not sure how enterprises are doing it right now, obviously, but it's great to work with small team and see the kind of result ABM can provide. And then I think everybody's surprised. Even our team is surprised. We've been talking about this for a long time, but now when we see it firsthand, it's pretty crazy what we're able to do with that. So uh,
Yeah. So another thing that I wanted to, so you can't see her because the background is blurred, right? We use the cabin's class to write all the target account, right? So you don't even like we don't exchange through this. And I think we started this practice about a month ago or 5, 6 weeks ago. It is super transparent, right? So anytime we do a demo, and if we see this to be an account that we want to focus on, we come on that, right? So there are like multiple blocks. That whole window, right, or a door partition is full of accounts with different categories and things like that. We don't even have to go on and tell, hey, this account that has come, right? And like every time you see, you get new ideas. You know what to do, right? Which account to go after, right? It's such a small thing, right? And I think I'd like to think that it has made a like lot of difference or an impact in terms of transparency and then and communicating the communication.
okay. Um, all right, coming back to Ashok. Ashok, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. So the thing that you mentioned about recency, right? So I've
Hmm.
experienced that firsthand. When we started. Do you guys use Factors by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are there are partners.
Okay. So Factors has this account identification feature, right? So when we first installed that, we were so excited that people that is the first time we've heard of anything like that account identification. So we set it up where you get an alert whenever a company visits your website that is new. So we used to do this with our SDRs that immediately when in the daytime, obviously in their shift timing, immediately when a account visits your website, you find the right person, you match the city, you find the right stakeholder, immediately call them up. We got some pretty good results with that. We outbound, generally we used to book around one SDR like 5, 6 meetings maximum. But when we started this, we actually got like 5, 6 meetings in a week itself. And this was a huge thing that we did, immediately call them. But we had a latency gap of 1 day. But like today they visit, they get the notification, the MRE fills the contact information. The next day in the morning, the SDRs get in touch with them. So
That's
that made a huge difference. The recency thing that you mentioned.
I think that's the age-old Zoho playbook, right? You go to Zoho's website and do any activity, I think you're chased, right?
Yeah, that was very strong in the inbound game.
Yeah.
I think even Girish talked about this, right? From Freshworks. Girish said this that they used to do this at Freshworks, and it just turned their whole game around. I think phone calls itself is a huge deal. Like it
Yeah.
works pretty well. Uh,
Sometimes people just don't remember the name. With the kind of names companies have now, they just don't remember which tool they checked out. There, that is, yeah, the recency thing works actually.
Correct. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So Ashok, your role exactly is like performance marketing side.
Yeah, my role is performance marketing and ads. I mean,
Okay.
and ops. Sorry,
All right. All
ops for
right.
the whole team and performance marketing. But they don't have an SEO person per se. They have a writer. So SEO also planning and thing comes under me. But there's not very major here because they are not very inbound driven. Most of their clients come from events, outbound.
Okay.
So ops, more than performance marketing, even ops is their main requirement there. So events and stuff.
All right. Okay. And you mentioned you have a small marketing team right now.
Now, currently, my marketing team consists of just me and the SEO writer. The
Okay.
SDR team also comes under marketing here
Mm-hmm.
in Quintite. So it is just me for the ops and the PPC stuff.
Okay.
Yes.
That's very interesting. So yeah, I mean there are sales-led organizations. I guess that's what this would be. So yeah, GTM teams coming together, sales and marketing, everything being called under. That's what we call ourselves. We call ourselves GTM here.
Yes, sales
Uh,
rep for people.
and yeah, so I was also doing this post about sales enablement, ABM as sales enablement.
Okay.
So I think that's where I developed this thought process that maybe I should just sit with sales and like see what sort of work is going on, and all these accounts they're interacting with. How does all this happen? I was working on the LinkedIn side before, and looking at ABM from a sales enablement perspective, I think it makes you realize the kind of content sales needs, everything from testimonials, case studies, I don't know, anything else that they require, competitor charts. And it just changes the whole approach, the way you think about marketing.
Yeah.
Uh, so Ashok, I wanted to ask you, you're already like in somewhat of a performance marketing role, which also aligns a lot with ABM,
Hmm.
uh, because ABM itself has a part of performance marketing. So what is it about ABM that brought you here, or where did you hear about it?
Yeah, so like I said, in Clinty, in the final couple months, we wanted to do, like, we were looking for anything and everything to improve our process, right? To outbound was slightly going down. We were not happy with the results. That is when Venkat, like our CEO, brought this thing called ABM. Let's try to Shed Lake. Have you heard of Shed Lake Q? Like that is our Shed Lake Q, Prospect IQ, and Call IQ. Those are three new products that Clenty as a parent company has three new child products. Okay, so initially when you start this product, you can't rely on inbound, right? Because there is not much um, presence there in the organic space. So outbound was the only thing that we had, the only source of leads for us. So when we started outbound for Schedule IQ, we found it so hard because we can't speak that language. Because Clenty as an SEP, a sales engagement platform, it was targeting salespeople. So everything that we spoke about, wrote about, discussed, everything is from the salesperson's point of view. Shedlake is a chili pepper competitor, right? But that is a marketing ops. That is strictly a marketing website management person, marketing team's responsibility. So we have to talk the marketing language, talk to think like marketers, because performance marketers or demand gen managers is the ICP for us. Before this, since we didn't have this, and we found it so hard to pitch to them. The pickup rates are different with them. The way they respond to cold calls is different. It is so hard. So we wanted uh, something different, something better. So when the SDR talks to them and the content that marketing was writing, it was not going hand in hand, because SDRs had to try a lot of different stuff to get more cold calls answered, or any responses from them. So in a practice to come bring marketing and these SDRs together is what I think they also got the idea from. So we wanted to uh, get it done as soon as possible, because we were going months without success in the lead generation space. So I think that is how we got ABM. We got to the space to bring ABM into the company.
All right.
See, you spoke about the role of MRE. So what exactly they do? Do they do?
Yeah. So MR is basically in our company. They are market research interns. So
Right.
what they do, once you get the account, you just don't know who visited, right? So they go to the LinkedIn page of the account. They see who the we tell them which persona to pick up, right? So they take whatever performance marketing or digital marketing, the right persona for the SDRs to call. They go to like we have the database, right? The Zoom Infos comparator prospect IQ we have. So they go to that and they find the contact information and update it for the SDRs in Clenty itself. So upload the list into Clenty every day so that it becomes tasks for the SDRs to call them once they log in. In this process, that is what MREs do. But MREs are basically interns who we hire for ops, manual stuff.
Hmm.
College students.
I was just wondering what type of research do they do, and then what kind of information do they gather? So it sounds like it's just restricted towards identifying the persona and then their contact details.
For this process, it is just identifying the persona and giving, because I don't think they were all interns from college, right? I don't We can't expect. There are 3 or 4 months, so getting them to speak our language itself will get us at least couple months. So we don't expect that from them. So we only what we do is just manual work that SDS have to do. Go find the persona, get the phone numbers. That they do. The research before calling, the SDRs only do. The website research or the niche research, the SDRs do before calling. So MREs don't do that. So the designation is market research intern, but this is what they do.
Right. They're just helping build the list, I
Yes,
suppose.
yes, yeah.
So we also have a research team at our organization. So what they do is mostly it's about data enrichment and data extraction. Like for example, if we identify the 500 accounts that we want to target, and we give them what are the ICPs, so they will scrape different sources, and they try to get the professional email IDs and the contact details of those ICPs from those accounts, and then that will be passed on to the BD team. So that's, I mean, we had some folks do that in Whatfix as well, and we have the same thing at AirDash as well. I think that is across all the B2B organizations.
Hmm. So I think we see the role of the MRE to do slightly more than what typically it's done, right? And I think if that can be, so especially when you get into an ABM motions, right? So you need like a lot more than the just the contact information or the account information, right? So research could extend to, okay, what is the company's install base, for example, right? So what are the activities of this personas, right? So what are the uh, maybe conversations that they may have had, or maybe even just going and then like, collecting some extracting information from there. So PRs, it could be based on annual reports and those sort of things, right? So there is like a lot of things that are hidden there, and
Mm.
typically that's something that's not highly utilized, right? So
Yeah.
I think that the more the research that we do, and going back to what I was talking about, right? So if you're targeting 1,000 accounts, you can't obviously do this at scale. But if you are restricted towards that 40, 50 accounts, then that the research activities becomes a like a very, very key role for you to build uh, and maybe even like first of all to segment them, and second of all to figure out like what could be the messaging, what you could infer a lot of their requirements and needs and things like that through that research, and you can start like communicating based on what you can get out of it. And there are teams, ABM teams, which either just, if we have such a team, right, research team, which is restricted towards contact building, right, and then the other side is that these teams don't have that role. I think we think, and I think it's especially those who are doing a very well-oiled kind of an ABM. So they rely a lot of these guys as inputs to craft messaging and to even to really figure out what stage they are and like what are the other uh, activities that they are doing, right? Are they talking about competitors, right? Is there a mention, right? Uh, Even going back to like intent databases, figuring out if they're still appearing, right? Maybe going to build with, and then see if they've already made a purchase, right? So you might be assuming that they're still in the market, but a week ago or a month ago, they've actually completed the process. Right now, anything that you do on that account without that particular information is a complete waste of resources, time, and things like that. Right. So you also have to have a way to, just like how you're including an account to your TAL, you also need to have an exit strategy of accounts going out of the TAL. So the resources that you have identified can now go to other accounts where it can make a lot of difference.
So Arun, just a one thought here. So I mean, I think something that Gargi also mentioned, right? Choosing few salespersons and focusing on those accounts and all. And also one more thing that she mentioned was showcasing the success that we have as an ABM campaigns, right? I mean that makes particular sense. So in terms of success, so how better can we show the ROI? Because ABM is not like your pure inbound exercise, right? Like you generate a lead and that converts into your final deal. Like there's a lot of people who are involved for in those accounts, especially if the account is an enterprise account. So how do you show the success? Because right now, as a performance marketer, I can show it in terms of engagement. I can show it in terms of website visits. But beyond that, ABM does play a role in accelerating the pipeline, right? So and it's very difficult to measure unless you have some tools and all. Just from the Salesforce or just from Google Analytics, how can you show that ROI? Because so that the sales team would believe that ABM is working, and let's give priority to that as well.
Hmm. Very interesting question. Simply because I had this exact conversation 5 years ago with Ritesh, right, when we started, right? So 3 months after, I was actually in Watvic's office, had like a couple of hours of discussion with him, trying to understand, right? We were still building the product and things like that. It was more a discovery call, right? And 3 months after, I think demand base was rolled out and then started to run campaigns and things like that. And I exactly had this conversation and asked him like how are you uh, taking a stake, right, in a deal that got closed, right? And it was at that point of time, it was very interesting what he said, right? So he said when I or the marketing team and sales team, right, decided to do pick an account or pick a set of accounts, and handful of those accounts, right, has actually like went and converted, right? So you need to build enough trust, and I think this is where culture, etc., comes in, and I also talk about that in a bit, right? So intrinsically, it really doesn't matter who actually went and closed it, right? If that is a target account and I've done some activity and have I must have played a role into it, and then nobody can take me out of that, was his response. I think if I remember it correctly, the essence was that, uh, and this is where the account selection and having that alignment, the alignment they've gone through, and I've in fact have helped in, actually I would have helped in influencing the deal to closure, right? I think it was very different to hear at that point of time, but the more you think of it, then it makes a lot of difference, right? So I'm going to use a cliched example, but then I can't pick up anything else. It's like a marriage, right? So right, there is father, there is a mother, there is a son, and that person like maybe goes and then secures a seat in IIT, right? Both of them have a different role to play, right? Now, will the father come on and say, I paid all his fees, and hence this person was able to study because I was able to give all the the resources that he needs, right? And then you can't, as a mother, you've not played a role into it, right? It's kind of an argument when it gets into whether or not you played a part in converting an account to a deal, right? So I think something is, I think it gets into that education kind of a phase. That is where who you align with from the sales team, right? Is that person open-minded enough to accept and be generous enough to accept the roles and the activities and the efforts that you put to actually go on then help convert, right? Uh, Tactically, I think in case you have to demonstrate, I think if there is an account that was won and if you believe from the marketing team that you've influenced, so maybe take an account, the pre-ABM type account, and then just figure out how long did it take, a set of accounts, and then see how it was able to close faster. If it in fact like we can, uh, if it in fact you made it to you helped to close faster. I think those are the things, but I think those are all you can't be operating in a very in a mode that every time you go and then make a claim, you are questioned, right? You cannot be at the back foot all the time, right? So it has to be a team effort, right? And that has to go really deep into whoever is subscribing to the idea of ABM.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right. So yeah, I think Viresh, if you find a lot of folks on LinkedIn are talking about ABM now, and some of them also share things like this. I think we've also shared something similar about the kind of metrics you can track in ABM, right? And if you just compare it to whatever program you're running before ABM, and you just observe the difference. First of all, it's obviously clear that if you're running a pilot as well, just a few months wouldn't do it. Maybe you have to run it for 2 quarters, 3 quarters probably, and then you would be able to sort of justify very clearly that this is how much the sales, the cycle length has reduced. That's what it's called, right? Sales cycle length,
Yeah, it's
and then the
completely
pipeline
possible.
velocity and things like that. Yeah. So, how much time it took to close an account? If it was taking 4 months before, and you maybe called them on a podcast or probably uh, sent some resources in between through your ABM activities, how it would have influenced it. But yeah, like Arun said, you can question everything, and after a point, it's about your team taking that step to experiment with it. Uh, so yeah, that was actually a
To
very
go on,
good.
if you have to go on then justify every time and then make a claim and then go with like a bunch of data to prove, then I think intrinsically there is something wrong,
Hmm.
right? The way that team is structured and whatnot, right? And then whoever is leading and whoever has got that say has to actually step up and then say, hey, there is a different approach, there is a different way of doing this, right? Uh, so obviously cannot be that you've not done anything and then trying to go take a claim in that whatever success they've had. But if you genuinely believe that played a part, then I think the setup has to be that it needs to accept.
Right.
I think we should do a full-fledged post on this. This would be like super interesting to look at how what do you present when you present your successes as compared to other programs, other marketing programs. Uh, so okay, do you guys have any question? Like, would you? Is there anything else you would like to ask each other? I think we have 6 minutes left. I would like to give this chance. Otherwise, I can ask a few more.
It could also be a feedback on the format, like what else can we do differently, right? So this, as you may have observed, right, this is not a forum that we have to share product agendas or anything. It's just trying to organically learn
I don't know, your
from
voice is.
each other, right? Okay, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah. So saying the whole idea of this, and I think Kargi was talking about initially, right? It's can we have a very unbiased, uh, no agenda kind of a place where people can come and then freely talk about their challenges, learn from each other, right? So it's more a peer learning. So to that effect, if there is anything else that we can do to right, either so we also wanted to keep it smaller so everybody gets to speak, right? Participate. The moment it gets into like 10, 15, the usual webinar style, then it's going to be like handful of people who are going to steal the complete airtime and not give others a chance and opportunity to talk, right? We wanted to keep it like 6, 7 people at the most, and then and maybe talk and then converse like what we've done. So if there is anything that you think as a feedback you have, or could also spread the word and then get more people to come and then just right. So typically try and then do it on a Friday evening. So I think uh, this has worked. This is the fourth or fifth time we are doing this, and so I think people who has come and participated, they've found value. So I don't know if, if you share that, but if you do, just let us know.
I think it's a good format, and as an ABM manager who is working as a one person team, we kind of go into a silo and do the same thing again and again. And I mean, we might have a small network, right? And the same network will have its own echo chamber. So it's always good to interact with more people and try to understand what they are doing, what good thing they have done, what mistakes they have done. It's always good.
But Ashok, do you have anything to?
No, I actually find this very interesting because the people who build an ABM software themselves talking, right? So I completely take value from this. But one thing I would have liked better is some actionable tips, right? So now we talk concepts, now we talk ideas, more of a general thing. But somebody who has some experience in ABM would be able to derive some actionable steps from this, whatever you guys are discussing. But initially, I was expecting more actionable tips, right? So that is one thing I was expecting.
Right.
I think we still have a few minutes. Ashok, do you have something specific that you have as a question that how do I do this? Maybe we can move on
Okay,
from there.
so my first question like would be what is a right practice, right? First, what we used to do there is uh, we just showed the SDRs. These are the accounts that we are targeting. This is the collateral that we are sending them, letting them download. This is the post that is going to be. So somebody who's clicking on this ad will have this expectation. So you should talk to them according to that. In your standard pitch doesn't work here. So that is the only thing that we have done, right? So is that the way ABM is done? Is that what it means? Am I doing it right? Or if I'm not doing it right, what should I have done differently? So that is what I want to know.
Yeah, I think in that specific instance, what has been followed seems to be the right approach, right? Like
Okay.
just logically thinking through. Right? Girish, if you have any thoughts, just go ahead and share it also.
Also,
Uh,
I'll add to that question. So you mentioned picking up accounts and them to close it, and to see results, it might take 2 to 3 quarters, right? So uh, I just don't think any. Let me be candid here. Any company, uh, person any demand generation person, IBM person proposing this and telling the management, I'll need 6 months to show you ROI on this. It will be hard for them to get the green signal, right? So,
no,
uh,
actually not. Actually not. I think people who are is doing it, they have gone through that process, right?
okay,
We cannot like try and then claim something and not be able to deliver, right? Because I don't think we've seen, especially somebody who just got started with an ABM, was able to pull it through and then start delivering results within the 3 month period, right? Typically, it's anywhere between 3 and 6 months, right?
okay,
It's not a function of the tools, or it's not a function of data or the skills or competency.
okay,
Say right? What is the right way and the right recovery? And then
Arun, your
typically
voice is
it
breaking.
takes that time.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry, I'm
Is
connected
it
on a
just for me?
yeah. So typically it is that time duration, and that needs to be educated, right? And I think people are willing to listen. We go with enough data points, enough citations, enough experience from others who have done, right? And then say, this is what I'm doing, right?
okay,
This is the reason why it's going to take so many weeks or months or whatever, right? It's not saying so. If you're able to close through your demand gen efforts in a week, right? Artificially introducing something like an ABM and then saying, I'm going to do the same thing, but it's going to take 3 times more time. Obviously, it's not going to sell, right? But if it a deal that typically takes 6 months, I'll be able to compress and then do it in 4 months or 5 months. It's a I think a reasonable goal to carry, and then and promise, and then see how you're able to achieve over that 4 or 5 month period, because that is the deal cycle, for example, right? You cannot obviously compress it any more than maybe 20-30%.
Got it. Got it.
I would
Maybe
just like,
yeah, maybe I think the next jam when you're able to join, right? So we can go and then take a specific use case and then go deeper, right?
Okay.
I think so. A lot of things that I talked about is also tactical, right? Which we are using, right? For example, how do you improve the sales marketing team's communication so that board, while they're writing these deals and the stages in a board, it's a very, very simple thing. But from our experience, right, it has made a very big difference, right? So otherwise, the conversations or the exchanges were happening through a HubSpot or a Slack or whatever, right? But now it's the analog has like a lot more pull to it. I think you guys should try and then see how you're able to influence.
Yeah, yeah. Sure. Guys, I'm very sorry to interrupt. I have a 6 o'clock meeting, so I'll drop off. We'll definitely connect back. Okay.
No problem. Thank you so much.
thank
Also,
you.
Gargi, can you
Thank
please?
you for coming.
Yeah, sure, sure. Thanks, Vignesh. Can you please send the recording as well? It would
Sure, sure.
reach
I
out.
Can
will.
you switch?
Or the
Can you switch
summary.
to the video for a minute, Ashok? While
Yeah,
I
yeah,
take a screenshot.
yeah.
Smile.
Okay, done. Thank you so much, Ashok.
Done. Yeah, thank you. Recording or the summary, anything would do. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Share
Thank you.
this.
Thanks so much. Bye, Viresh.
Thanks, Shiv. Bye.
Did you know him before, Viresh?